From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? It's Wake Up War Chant. We're here. Glad to be here. Glad that you're here. That's the most important thing. Forget if it's me or Corey. Mainly, let's just hope at least it's Corey's here. Thankfully, you're here. Makes me feel good about things. Thought we had a good program coming out of a extended break the other day, Corey, and then I was like, man, what are we going to do now? Because as we sit here, you and I, you in the lovely sprawling suburbs of Gwinnett County and myself at the Midtown offices here in Tallahassee, Florida, no one's been hired, no one's been fired since we last convened. And I'm like, man, what are we going to talk about? And I'm like, oh, that's right. WarChant.com. Use the promo code WarChant30. Get involved on the Tribal Council. Leave your questions on the Renegade Express, and then we'll do it. And that's what we're going to do today, man. The Renegade Express. Power to the people. Democracy in action.
I can't wait. And they're the most important part of the show anyway, right? Well, not necessarily just the Renegade Express question askers, but our listeners. They're the ones that give us the juice to know that there are actually people out there. We're not talking into the ether. There's actually people on the other end of this listening to my voice right now.
Oh, yeah.
They're the ones that make it go. So God bless you guys. Keep listening. And if you're not a member of War Chant, I really, honestly, I don't know what's going on. But become a member and then ask your questions. You can ask us as many questions as you like. Aslan will probably read them all.
That's what I do, man. I care about everybody. Yeah, man, good numbers. Strong ratings book from the month of December for a team program that we covered that wasn't even playing football. 13,000 listeners average daily. So we're doing all right, man. Somehow, some way or the other.
That's pretty darn good. I'm going to go ahead and say that's 65,000 a week.
Strong.
We can live with that. We can live with that. And just think when this team gets good again.
I know. Good grief. Hey, I thought about this the other day. So, you're being a pretty good sport with this whole, thing with, me and Brady just kind of, being, just kindred spirits here and everything. You're not dogging me, are you? Brady, why do you like this guy? You realize he's really not cool. I'm carrying the show. I'm putting him over. It's got to be hard for you to kind of sit there and bite your lip as your son heaps praise upon me. I hope you're not throwing shade at me.
No, come on, buddy. I would never badmouth you in front of my son. That would be like badmouthing Santa to him.
All right, just check.
I mean, I can't do it. I don't want to. You don't want to knock down your kid's heroes.
All right.
So I like that he idolizes someone. It'd be cool if he maybe idolized, just maybe a Pulitzer winner or a Nobel Peace Prize winner or an all-time great athlete or something like that, or even his mom. But nope. Or his dad, but he idolizes Aslan, which is fine. He'll probably grow out of it, but in the meantime, I'm going to let him have it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to talk you down to him. Are you crazy?
We're going to ride this until the wheels come off. All right, fantastic, man. All right, so we got plenty of questions that we're going to dive into here. And by the way, people do listen. Somebody corrected me. We don't have a stat boy on the program, although that used to be my moniker on War Chant. It used to be Stat Boy Slon back in the day when I was the intern. Apparently, one of our listeners says that Houston is the fourth largest city in America by population. I think I said fifth.
You were right there, though.
Yeah, come on. Yeah,
you were dancing at the fact. You were right around that fact.
We're trying.
I mean, top five. That once you're in the top five, you've made it.
Yeah. So that's
fifth, four. We don't need to.
That's what they think they are. Hey, before we get to the seminal part of the show, what would have happened had Bevo gored Uga? Do you think they would have played the game? Then it started making me think, if something were to happen to Renegade, I don't know, he just faints, falls ill, and it's over and expires.
Or falls down and before the Orange Bowl?
Well, no, I'm talking about he expires. Something.
Well, yeah, what I was going to say is, I don't know. He looked pretty close to breaking a limb.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a nasty fall. And what if he traps Osceola and breaks Osceola's leg and they have to stretcher him out? I assume he still play the game.
I do too.
And even if they have to stretcher out Renegade, you probably play the game. I don't know. Yeah, you play the game. There's too much money on the line. But obviously they would have had a moment of silence before kickoff for Uga. And that would have been I don't quite know what Bevo's doing. I'd like his handlers to take care of business a little better. Yeah. I mean, come on now. Man, that looked like that was a crazy scene. That lady diving out of the way. I mean, that looked like something out of a movie, like a Jerry Bruckheimer movie. But hey, Uga was smart enough to run when he saw what was going on.
Yeah. I love that little rascal.
Bulldogs don't usually move that fast.
Oh, man. Has some agility there. Yeah, I just figure, we love our dogs more than we love people this day and age. It would have been the quietest football game ever played, though.
It would have been really sad. I don't mean to make light. I mean, imagine your live mascot being killed on live TV. Mm-hmm. That would be, that would resonate for a long time.
Would Kirby Smart
I'm glad it didn't happen. Again, I'd like them to keep that thing in a cage or something, or where it's the handlers have a hold of it. Like, what if Ralphie got loose?
Oh,
that's the thing. What if Ralphie the Buffalo got loose and started just straight up goring people? Would they have to trank it? Do they have tranquilizer darts?
I assume they've got to. I think I think they brought Ralphie to Tallahassee back in 2003.
Oh, did they really? That's a long drive.
I think they did. I want to say they did. I don't know if he was there in Jacksonville the one time we played, but I thought they brought him to Tallahassee.
It's a crazy beast when you see it up close. Holy moly.
Yeah, it's a freaking buffalo. It's a bison, man. Big, big animal. By the way, how is the weather right now where you're at? It's seasonably warm in Tallahassee. I assume it's somewhat similar up in the greater Gwinnett area?
Yeah, it's seasonably warm, but it's been dreary for a week. The sun's made an appearance once, for 30 minutes in the last week.
I'm telling you, I think Atlanta is like Seattle of the Southeast.
It's turning that way. It's not supposed to be, but it's turned that way here lately. Yeah. Kind of a bummer, actually. Just dreary. Stephanie was up here and couldn't really go do anything outside because the weather was so bad.
Yeah. But the real reason why the weather is so seasonably warm is all the hot takes on Twitter. Have you seen everything on Twitter about everybody comparing CMR, a.k.a. Coach Mark Richt, which, by the way, if you haven't made a New Year's resolution, may your New Year's resolution be to join warchant.com and to never use the 3-letter acronym to describe a coach. I don't know. I just can't stand it, Corey. I hate it. I hate the CMR.
I don't understand it. I don't understand where it came from.
Just say Kirby. Just say Willie. Just say Jimbo. You don't have to say CJF, CWT. It's the most, I don't know. There's something about it that just gives me the douche chills. Anywho, so the whole thing going on now is comparing Kirby's first 3 years to Mark Richt's first 3 years. I guess they're almost spot on identical. Like there's an SEC championship title in the midst of that. There's a 13-win season in the midst of that. But it's what I hate, using these numbers, man, and liars figure and figures lie. I mean, can you – and again, we're going to get to the Seminole part of this, I promise. We're going to have all your questions. You're not the Georgia guy, which was one of the funniest things I thought in the blowback of the whole Kendall Briles column, where people are like, oh, Corey's he's really a Georgia fan. He doesn't care about Florida State. Get him out of here. I love that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's just people that don't know what they're talking about.
You've seen it. It feels different, I assume. I mean, I don't remember intimately 2001, 2, and 3 for Georgia. I remember 2002 and what they did to us in poor Anquan Bowl and down in the Sugar Bowl. But, I mean, Kirby he's had them in the national title game. I mean, Mark Richt, never got that close. I don't know. I don't want to call it lazy. But I don't know. I feel like Georgia's in a better place now than they were. The optimism, I think, is much higher now than it was when Mark Richt was there.
Yeah, it was weird when Rick took over. So 2002, they got to the Sugar Bowl. I think they went 12-1. I think they only lost the one game. Yeah. I assume it was to Florida because all his losses were to Florida, or not all of them, but he always lost to Florida. So I think they lost to Florida that year, but still went 12-1 or 13-1. And if there was a playoff back then, Georgia would have been in it. Georgia also would have been in the 2007 playoff if there had been a playoff back then. And I think, as we compare eras, that's something you got to factor into. That would have been 2 playoff appearances at least in a 6-year stretch. Well, that's not bad when you're Georgia. Right now Kirby's on that timeline. He's 1 out of 3. I do think it feels different, but I don't know if it feels different just because they played Alabama close. Nobody really plays Alabama close. Well, Georgia has 2 years in a row, and you get all these bonus points and feel goods for almost beating Alabama. Even though they're still losses, you feel better about the program because they compete with Alabama. Meanwhile, Mark Richt, when he would play a good team, especially middle to later of his tenure, they wouldn't just lose, they would get embarrassed a lot. They would just not show up. They'd be down 31-0 Alabama at the half. They'd get destroyed by South Carolina. All these things would happen. They don't seem to be happening with Kirby Smart. But, man, I don't know. 3 years in, I think to me it feels differently. It feels like this program is more entrenched and here to stay. The way they're recruiting, his personality. But we'll see, man. I mean, we'll see. We've talked a lot about those kind of personalities and how often they work for the long haul. And it sure looked like for the first time really in his tenure that his team just did not show up and did not care in that game against Texas. And by the way, I hate the narrative that, it didn't matter to Georgia. It mattered to Texas. That's why they lost. Man, get out of here.
Yeah. Somebody's
trying to beat your butt on the other end of the field. And you're just cool with it. Like you're just going to be, we don't really care. We didn't get in the playoffs, so we're not gonna try that hard. Give me a break, man. You just got beat. You got outplayed and you got outcoached. It happens.
And now the thing too is there was a thread over on warchant.com. It went to like 3 pages, so that's why I clicked on it. But now it's like the whole thing was look at Willie had a bad first season, but look what happened to Kirby's first season in Georgia. Look what happened to Nick Saban's first year, and then I didn't like that. I told us all stop doing that. So now it's like Tom Herman. Everyone's like, well, what was Tom Herman's record last year? So, like, what now? Now we're using Texas as the template? Like, we want to be where Texas is now? That's where we were. We were winning 10 games. We were winning 10 games going to New Year's 6 Bowls. We didn't like it with the last guy. But now that's good enough? Like, that's what we want? That's what we strive for? I thought we were all about championships around here. So, like, now we're moving the goalposts, kind of. Now it's like, well, look what Tom Herman's done in Texas, man. Well, yeah.
But I think it's more about the improvement, the degrees of improvement that Texas made from year 1 to year 2. Our year, Charlie Strong's last year to Tom Herman's, what is it now, his 3rd year?
Yeah, it was his 3rd season.
I mean, it's a different program now, and that's what you're looking for. Again, man, it's weird to say the wins and losses. I mean, the deal with Florida State this year is they didn't come close to winning any of those games they lost, except one. Their record was fair. But there are a lot of times, Texas being 10-3. I think they finished 10-3 or 10-4.
Yeah, 10-4.
I mean, they could have been 12-2 or 8-6. Like, they do look better. They beat Oklahoma. They almost beat Oklahoma again. That you can tell that they're making strides.
I apologize. This is year 2. My bad.
Okay, but but there you go. You can tell that they're making strides. And I think that's what Florida State. I mean, I don't know that nobody's going into next year thinking that Florida State's competing for a championship, that it's going to be like a Nick Saban type revival or a Bob Stoops type revival. The roster isn't that. It's not ready for that. But you want to see strides. You want to see a personality of a coach taken on by the players and become a fast, fun team that scores a lot of points. That's what you're looking for. So in that regard, I mean, you would be really happy with a Sugar Bowl win next year and 10 wins. It doesn't mean that's the ceiling. Now, but Texas fans and Florida State fans look at Texas and think, okay, well, next year they're going to be top 10 in the country. They're in the Big 12. They might go 12-1. They're on the rise, I guess is what you're looking at. And that's what Florida State is hopefully going to be next year, is on the rise. Go from 5 wins to 9 wins or 8 wins. And then the next year you hope you're at 12. I can't foresee Florida State in year 2 doubling its win total. But it is an easier schedule. And, they will have Justin Fields at quarterback.
Oh, don't start.
Boy, I wonder what would have had to how bad Jake Fromm would have had to play for him to get in the game.
How many games has he played?
It was crazy. He was in his helmet the whole time, looked engaged. I mean, he was standing there. But, man, they just weren't going to play him at all.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, this is a good segue. Let's go right to it. Let me stop spitting hot takes. Frenchie Freshnell.
Hey, did we hear the horses?
There, it just happened.
Okay, good. I did not want to have a Renegade Express without the horses come galloping down the road.
It just happened. Frenchie Freshnell. Hopefully we can expect Hurts or Fields to come? Question mark? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe maybe Jalen Hurts. There's some semblance of smoke to Jalen Hurts. I don't know if I can repeat, and I shouldn't have said it this way. I don't see Justin Fields coming here, though. No, I don't see Justin Fields coming.
I would be very surprised if Justin Fields came to Florida State, only, because of, if you were Justin Fields' parents and he had 2 years to play college football, maybe just one if he has to sit out next year. But wouldn't you go to a place that has like the best offensive line or one of the best offensive lines? That, to me, you got to shore that up. And a lot, quarterbacks can help offensive lines a great deal, get rid of the ball quicker, can move, can escape pressure, can slow down the rush, all that stuff. But, man, it's hard to sell the Florida State offense to a guy like that with an offensive line like that. So, I feel like if they prove they can block in 2019, then they'll have their pick of transfer quarterbacks moving on down the line, or they'll have their pick of the best high school quarterbacks in the country. But I think parents, rightly so, wonder about that offensive line. They see DeAndre Francois sprawled out in the grass every Saturday. So, I don't think Justin Fields. I can see Jalen Hurts, though, man. Jalen Hurts also knows he's not an NFL quarterback. So go to a nice program, a really good program. I don't mean to demean Florida State by just calling it nice. A good program that has great history and tradition. Run for 1,000 yards. Try to lead them to 8 or 9 wins. That'd be a good senior year, as opposed to just playing in the fourth quarter of Alabama blowouts.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that. I don't know. I don't know if he thinks he's not an NFL quarterback. I'm sure part of him still thinks that he can. I don't think he can. But I'm sure, him being a competitor, he probably thinks that he can. And I don't know if he'll think that this is the best place to showcase it at. But like you said, you come here and just think about how low. I don't know. The bar is pretty low here, but then again, I feel like if you come here and you only do win 7 games, you're not going to be appreciated. But if you come here and win 9 games, you'll be a legend.
Well, when I call him a legend,
yeah.
We ain't UTEP. Florida State has some real legends that have gone through here. I don't think 9 wins would make him a legend, but he'd always have there'd always be a soft spot in the heart of Florida State fans for a guy that turned it around and got this program back to 9 wins. Yeah. Like a Ponder, right?
Yeah.
I think Florida State fans like Christian Ponder. They have fond memories of that guy.
I do, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't a super-duper star.
Yeah. FSU 91. Fellas, I hope they are excited about the veer and shoot as much as I am. I love the concepts of this offense and how it uses the pass to set up the run. There's a lot of stuff out there on the web that you can read up on to learn about what Briles will be doing, and I hope that you guys will do some research. By the way, if you join warchant.com, you'll grow fond of FSU 91. Offense requires fast wide receivers, big linemen that can move defenders off the line of scrimmage. This is not some finesse zone blocking offense. It requires big guys who use old school power blocking. It also requires, basically his question is, what do you guys know about Jalen Hurts and the chances that we get him to transfer to FSU after Bama season comes to an end? FSU 91 from Missoula, Montana, hometown of David Lynch, Dana Carvey, and Jeff Ament.
Oh, there we go. Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam.
Yeah, man. Basis,
I didn't know Dana Carvey was from Montana.
I didn't either. I did not.
I figured he was from Canada.
That makes sense about David Lynch, though. He's weird, man. He's a Twin Peaks
He's really
guy,
weird.
Right?
I feel like Montana's a pretty weird state in general. Like the people that live out there.
There's some folks there.
No offense to our good friend FSU 91.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're loners. Really, they like to be by themselves and have a bunch of land and be with the animals. So with that in mind, David Lynch kind of fits to the Montana stereotype that I just created.
The rival town of Missoula. So University of Montana's in Missoula, and then Montana State's in Bozeman.
Yeah.
They call it Bose Angeles because a lot of California people have moved in. Not a lot, but the city is booming by Montana standards. It's up to, maybe 40,000 people live in the city now. But it's so crazy. People are like, you can't even recognize a city anymore. And it's they're like, the traffic's horrible. It's traffic? There's nothing. Are you kidding me? There's nothing.
Yeah, well, they don't know any better. But
Beautiful city,
I think
though.
Harrison Ford lives in Montana, and David Letterman has a place in Montana.
Yeah.
Ted Turner, obviously. Yeah, there's a lot of big, huge, rich people that live out there.
Yeah,
trying to get away from things. It's a good place to go to get away from stuff.
Yeah, if I had the money, I'd buy a summer home out there for sure. It's beautiful. I mean, summer out there is amazing. Back to the question, though. Oh, the winter's brutal. Yeah, I mean, we know there's been there's been communication between Jalen Hurts and Florida State. There's been back channel communication. That is, I know that.
So he definitely wouldn't go to another SEC school. So
I don't think they'd have a choice. I mean, he'd be a grad transfer, so I don't think they could stand in the way.
Yeah,
of it.
but I don't think I wouldn't see him doing that. Yeah. I don't know why. I just don't think he'd go to a team that plays Alabama. Heck, he stayed the whole year when he knew he was the backup, unlike the kid at Clemson. What's his name that left? Bailey Hockman. Sorry, what's his name? That guy's going to end up throwing for 400 yards against Florida State. But yeah, I just think if you eliminate the SEC, I don't know what other really attractive places there are for him to go where he would be likely to be the starter at a place that has some talent, runs a fun offense that scores a lot of points. That said, I'm not giving up on my man James Blackman.
I'm not either, man. I don't know. I would think why wouldn't you go to Florida if you're him?
I mean, Felipe Franks actually played all right at the end of the year. I think he goes in the league next year entrenched as the starter. James Blackman, as much as we like the guy and the one game he did play in 2018, he's not entrenched as anything, obviously.
Yeah.
So I just think it would be like the Everett Golson situation, choosing Florida State because there was an opening. Well, there's an opening at Florida State. I'm not saying that he deserves to start ahead of Blackman or even would. But I think in his mind, he thinks he'd be going to Florida State. It'd be easier for him to unseat the starter at Florida State than at Florida.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, you think about the glamour programs out there that are not in the SEC. I mean, Texas obviously has got Ellinger. USC's got that the true freshman quarterback that started for them this past year. I assume that that's who Kliff Kingsbury will build around if he's actually still there. Can you believe that? Gets fired from Texas Tech, gets hired as Southern Cal's offensive coordinator. Now supposedly 4 different teams want to interview him as their head coach in the NFL.
Isn't that crazy?
2019, man. Opportunity is out there, everybody. Chase it. Chase your dreams. You can.
That guy wasn't good enough to coach at Texas Tech. He couldn't keep his job at Texas Tech, and yet he's going to be coaching the Packers? What? Anyway.
I mean, who else?
NFL does some weird stuff, man.
I mean, I don't see him going to Washington. I don't know if Jake Browning's leaving. I don't know if he's exhausted his eligibility or if he's a candidate to leave. Obviously, Justin Herbert's going back to Oregon. Yeah, I mean, you look at the glamour programs out there, and then it's like Florida State. Hey,
Oregon ain't no glamour program. But also, I think he's a Southern kid, right?
Yeah, he's from Texas. I think he's from outside of Houston, actually.
Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, LSU. I don't know what they got
Joe
coming down
Burrow's
the pike. Gone. If that Burrow kid's even going to be there, I don't know anything about their quarterback situation. But yeah, I would think that Florida State would look attractive. It's a similar type program, obviously not as good, but a similar type program to the one he's been at. Yeah. One that expects to win, even coming off a down year, one that expects to win, which is a big deal.
Plus, the whole Kendall Briles thing might have some sort. Because I know his father is Avarian Hurts, who is actually a high school football coach in the state of Texas, so I'm sure he's crossed paths with the Briles family at some point. So there's probably some either relationship or respect or at least some sort of frame of reference for what they run. And him with being the offensive coordinator now, I'm sure there's got to be some sort of maybe pull to connect those dots. So we shall see, hopefully soon enough. Next comment is it's a comment. That's what it is. From CMI Perez. Difference between Briles and Bell? Walt Bell wasn't the recruiter of the year in the Big 12 for 2 years and never had a top 5 FBS offense in the nation. Also, he's hungry to move ahead in his professional career. And are you kidding? This guy would never even consider leaving FSU for UMass. What a ridiculous upgrade we just got for Christmas. Hope I gave that the right tone.
Well, I mean, certainly when you look at it from the outside looking in, you upgraded significantly. And we really don't know anything about Walt Bell because it wasn't really his offense. Yeah. Maybe if Willie would have just given him the keys, Florida State would have been scoring 40 points a game in 2018. I doubt it, but who knows? But yeah, I mean, I just think that you've gotten a guy that's grown up in big-time college football. He's been a part of he was at Baylor for, a decade almost? He's been an FBS a coach for over a decade or right at a decade, and he's been around a lot of touchdowns, a lot of them. That's all he does. All he knows is scoring touchdowns. So just by osmosis, you want something like that to rub off. And again, it's not Walt Bell's fault that his quarterbacks kept getting hurt at Maryland, but they did. And he wasn't around a bunch of touchdowns at his previous job. That's all Kendall Briles knows. So again, yeah, I think if he's allowed to run it, it's his offense. It's his practice routine. It's his practice schedule. This is what we do. This is how we install it. This is what we're looking for. He gets complete control on that side of the ball, much like Mickey Andrews got complete control on the defense when Bobby was the head coach. Like he was basically his head coach of the defense. Is Willie going to make Kendall Briles his head coach of the offense? And if he does, man, just history tells you that Florida State's going to score a ton of points.
I don't want to say
maybe not next year, but in 2 years, 3 years, they'll be scoring a lot of points.
Like I would feel bad if like Willie does that though. Like if Willie's just like, yo man, it's all you, save us. You know, I'd almost feel bad. Like I really do wonder how much latitude. I mean, obviously he's going to be the primary play caller or whatever the language they was or the language they used in that press release. But, I mean, if you're going to have him do that, I assume everything is on the table. And if he's like, hey, man, I think that we should not use music in practice or we should only do it in this certain time or maybe we shouldn't practice at this time of day. I just wonder how
Kendall,
much.
Make that happen.
Like, you know, then, like, it's a really the situation. You know, I want to get more clarity, obviously. Hopefully in the coming weeks we'll get to speak to Willie about it. I mean, signing day is not too far around the corner. I'm sure we'll get him one more time again, and we'll get some more clarity once the full staff is intact. But where are the lines? Like, where are the lines that Willie's going to draw in terms of, all right, you can do this, but you know, obviously I'm still the boss.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll have. You know, you think about when Jimbo was Nick Saban's offensive coordinator. That was Jimbo's offense, but Nick Saban obviously had some input. Nick Saban's not going to go to a game not knowing what his offensive coordinator is game planning or who he's planning on using. You know, all that stuff. I know he oversaw the defense, but still, he would have a finger on the pulse of what the offense is doing. And I think it would be the same thing with Willie. I just think, man.
But what if he's like, this drill is stupid? I don't know why I don't want to run that drill anymore.
I mean, you hired him, and we don't know what we haven't seen the contract yet, but you're giving him. You've spent a lot of money on this guy to bring him over. Don't put handcuffs on him. Let him do. If he says, "Look, this drill does no good for us," Willie Taggart has to be like, "Okay, this is your offense." That doesn't mean Kendall Briles is going to say, "Hey, we're going for it on 4th and 6." Or he's not going to make all the big decisions. Will still be with Willie, but. You didn't bring this guy here to kind of handcuff him. You brought this guy here to turn your offense around and make it a legitimate one and a high scoring one, like one to be feared, not laughed at. And so let him do it. And if this guy has a way that he structures practice, because you can't argue with the results on the football field for any of the Briles folks when it comes to offense. All they do is produce huge numbers. Huge. So why would you temper that at all and kind of put your own spin on it? You know what I mean? Like, right. You can tell him, look, I'd like to run a little bit more. I'd like to be a little more physical. He can take notes like that, though. You can give him those kind of notes. But by and large, man, you didn't bring him along. You didn't bring him here, and he didn't come here to kind of be, have somebody working the strings and being a puppeteer. This is his offense. This is his baby. What he's lived for the last 10 or 11 years. So let him do it and see if it works. But give him 2 years and see if it works. And also, I also look at it like Bobby when Bobby Cox had Leo Mazzoni as the pitching coach. Like the pitchers were Leo's. Yeah. Bobby still made all the in-game decisions for the most part, but Leo Mazzoni, the Braves pitching coach, is the one that worked with the pitchers, developed the pitchers, helped tell them how to devise a game plan for hitters and teams. I think that's what you would be doing as a head coach in this instance.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I obviously, I think to a lot of people put way too much emphasis on the importance of who's calling the plays. So, I mean, if he's calling the plays, to me, I think it's a matter of Willie just being like, well, hey, let's go for it on 4th down.
Yeah. Or what are we thinking here?
Yeah.
What are we thinking here? How are we going to attack him here? And then Kendall Briles could say, well, I want to take a shot early. And Willie's like, I don't know. Let's establish, whatever he wants to say. Like their linebacker can't cover our running backs in the flat. Exploit that. Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay, coach. I mean, you can make notes like that, like Bowden did in the 90s. Right. Not the 2006 Bobby Bowden, but the 1993, 96, 99 Bobby Bowden. He would still give Rick notes. But by and large, maybe to his detriment, but by and large, it was Mark Richt's offense. Bobby would just make suggestions. Usually it was to run a reverse, but still, he would make suggestions, and I think that's what Willie's role will be when it comes to the offense.
Yeah. Noel Blooded 93. Moving forward, how are we to land a top quarterback recruit with this offense? I understand Jimbo is gone, so does that mean there is no more quarterback pipeline to the NFL? If so, why haven't there been more wide receiver and running backs in this class? We lose Patrick, and who knows if LeBourne gets re-hurt. Grant didn't impress me too much. FSU 16, Tampa, Florida, home of Gary Sheffield, George Steinbrenner, Dan Bilzerian, John Cena, and Ray Charles. I knew Gary Sheffield. I think it's probably stretching it to call George Steinbrenner from Tampa.
That's where he got rich, though, right?
I don't know. I don't think so. I thought
that's where he developed all the ships and stuff was in Tampa.
Maybe I don't know my own environment as much as I think.
But also, isn't Darryl Strawberry's from Tampa, right?
Yeah, Darryl Strawberry.
Weren't him and Sheffield like on the same Little League team?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, Tampa's got a ton. Good grief. There's a ton of people there, but that's a good list. That's a quality list.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think. Yeah,
I think quarterbacks would want to come play for this offense.
I mean, they've played for. Like De'Aaron King, that quarterback. He's electric. He's fun to watch at Houston. I don't think he came to play specifically for Kendall Briles, but he definitely thrived under it. Yeah, I mean, this is what high schools are running. So whatever quarterbacks have the aspirations to go work under guys like Jimbo, they'll go to him. But then by and large, they're playing for guys that run Dabo's system and run. These wide open, fun, free offenses that everybody seems to like these days. I think that to me, I think is the silver bullet. Can they get a good grad transfer guy? Can they get a Jalen Hurts? Somebody that's going to come in here and be able to run for 700, 800 yards. And that's going to, I think, it's going to make everybody's job easier. And those are the guys that you can bring in, and you don't have to wait 3 years for them to redshirt and develop this and develop that. And that was sort of the blueprint that Jimbo always wanted to use. I think it's a positive development if you're in that realm. Because listen, man, Jameis doesn't grow on trees. That's who you need to do really to peak and maximize what Jimbo wants. I think if you want to peak out and maximize what Willie and Kendall Briles want to do, there's a dime a dozen guys out there. That's a good thing.
I agree. Yeah. Now look, there's a dime a dozen, and there's those sensational guys like a Kyler Murray, or a Baker Mayfield. I mean, Oklahoma just happened to get 2 in a row, but those guys are really good. Kyler Murray, man, even in that Alabama game was just really fun to watch. There's not a ton of those guys, but there's plenty of guys that can run your system and win you games, and put up huge numbers. I mean, Can you name a Baylor quarterback from the last decade other than RG3?
Yeah, man. Bryce Petty.
Jarrett Petty had big numbers, but what's he doing in the league?
Backing
up. You know what I mean? I think he
board.
Got drafted, or he's on a team, but he's not an NFL. He's not really an NFL quarterback.
What's EJ Manuel doing? What's Christian Ponder doing?
That's what I'm saying. The success in the league, whether they get drafted or not, shouldn't really be you don't need to worry about that. The pipeline to the NFL. Man, you need a pipeline to 11 wins. You need a pipeline to Charlotte.
Yeah.
You need to find some people that can get you to Charlotte. And if that means getting a guy that's 6 foot but can run around, whatever it takes, man, that's what you need to find. I don't think, I always thought Jimbo's offense to really succeed, unless you had a dominant offensive line, you needed an NFL type quarterback. And he heaven knows he got him. He had 4 first-round picks in a row. This offense, you don't need somebody special to even win a championship. You don't need somebody special. Well, maybe to win a championship you do, but to win an ACC I was talking about national championship. To win an ACC championship to get to Charlotte, you don't need somebody extra special that's a first round NFL draft pick. You need somebody that runs the offense well, sees it quickly, and can get the ball out of his hands and can also move. And again, it's going to be interesting too because Baylor has never. I mean, even when Baylor was really good offensively, they weren't recruiting like Florida State can recruit.
Right.
So it's going to be really interesting to see what Briles can do in with a couple of recruiting classes because he's not been able to, maybe a wide receiver, but all the other positions, he's not really been able to recruit like he's never had the cachet that Florida State has. He's never gone into a home with that kind of cachet wearing a garnet sweater and being able to sell what he's going to get ready to sell. So it's going to be interesting to see him with that offense, with these types of athletes he should be bringing in.
They've found good guys. I mean, they've had those good running backs, with the Lachey Seastrunk or whatever, Sistrunk.
Yeah, but were they big time recruits? And did they have the depth? Like I don't ever remember seeing Baylor like as a top 10 recruiting class ever. Yeah. Now they'd be top 10 in the country on the field sometimes. But I don't remember them ever having incredible recruiting classes. Yeah. I think he's got, I don't know how many guys they have at Under Armour games. But, heaven knows Florida State always has a bunch.
And look where we are. NoldDad84. Happy New Year, gentlemen. Wake up. Just wondering, what are your thoughts or comments about the drug busts at Clemson and Alabama this past week? I haven't heard a peep from the media and feel if this happened at Florida State, we'd be crucified. I'm originally from Hialeah, Florida, home of knuckleballer Charlie Huff from the world champion Florida Marlins, also home of the deluge of jerk, you can fill in the other word, Cane fans that love to upset Aslan. I don't have a lot of heat with the Cane fans. Yeah,
Charlie Huff, that's a good one.
Yeah, way to pull that one out the bag. Yeah, I don't know. Was it Dexter Lawrence? Is he the one that tested positive for PEDs?
No, he was a big deal. I think mainly it was because of who it was. That it was Dexter Lawrence. Like if Tua had been popped, it would have been a huge story.
Right.
Obviously. And they'd still be talking about it. Is he going to be ready? Is he going to be available? What was in the sample? I just think it was, to my knowledge, it was 6 guys, right? And only one of them we'd ever heard of before. Now, he's awesome. He was their best defensive player, but he's also a defensive lineman. He's not a quarterback. And again, I'm certainly not going to be on the side of the way the national press handled Florida State the last 5 years, especially, let's say, 4 years ago, and that person that they had their targets on the whole time. But he was a Heisman Trophy winner and the quarterback of a national championship football team. There is extra attention that comes with that, and the case itself. But again, yes, I think Florida State would be handled. It would be, well, let's say Florida State, when Florida State is good, it would have been ramped up, and it would probably still be a thing. I do believe that. I do believe that maybe Alabama, for whatever reason, it get not tossed aside. It just doesn't get brought up much on Twitter or in broadcasts, whereas other things maybe with Florida State would get brought up seemingly every quarter of a broadcast.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if Mario Edwards Jr. or Timmy had tested positive before a national title game, I think it would have been talked about like the way that, Snoop Minnis didn't qualify grades. I mean, it wasn't like I don't feel like when Snoop Minnis was academically ineligible that ESPN was blowing that up and I know it's different drugs and grades, obviously, but
you're going way back. You're going 18 years back.
Can you believe it was that long ago? Good.
Remember those days when Florida State was playing in national championship games?
Man, do you tell me about it. Like my buddies are still back in Alabama showing me all the bowl gifts they got out in the Orange Bowl. Then they get to go to San Francisco now. I'm like, man. But you still have to live in Alabama, so there you got to.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, why are they putting the championship game in San Francisco?
I don't know.
The college football championship game is in San Francisco.
Beautiful stadium.
Sure, man. Who out there cares about college football? 0 people.
Well, it goes to Pasadena. What's the difference? Well,
but that's at least a traditional college football stadium. With San Francisco, that's not a college football city. Like Los Angeles has had great college football teams in the past, and USC was their NFL team when they were good. So at least they've shown some passion for it. Man, give me a break. San Francisco for Clemson and Alabama. Imagine those two fan bases rolling into that city. Anyway. No, not to cast aspersions on our friends, our Tiger friends, and our Crimson Tide friends.
I'm just always proud of how well we didn't maybe travel as well as I thought we were. But initially, when we made the national title game, like those tickets were ridiculous. I mean, like tickets were going for $600-$700 that were like $100 face value to get into the BCS game between us and Auburn. But then eventually,
I think they're in San Francisco right now. I think they're selling for below face value.
Yeah, it started petering out though because I think I don't know, just the initial surge and the demand sort of kind of waned, and then the price started dropping, and people were like, oh, you can actually get a ticket for really cheap, and they were trying to talk down to us. But it's like, listen, man, Auburn had been in a national title game a few years prior, and then heck, it's Tallahassee. There's not a lot of easy flights from Tallahassee to Pasadena, but we didn't travel as heavy as they did, but we were louder at the end. That's all that matters.
That's right. One fan base, one side of the stadium was cheering heavily there at the end of the game, and another one was pretty quiet.
All right, let's start picking up the pace. We got so many questions. We've only gone through
let's go.
Maxwell Gibbs, Happy New Year, gents. What are you most looking forward to in 2019? FSU basketball making another deep tournament run, or seeing how the offense looks with Kendall Briles calling shots? I'm a football guy. I love Ham and what they're doing. I closed my eyes the other day when I was at the Winthrop game, and I had this feeling of, like Terrence Mann with the ball in his hand, just jumping up and down at midcourt. They're like, "And Florida State wins the national title." But I want to see basketball. I want to see football. I'm sorry, I'm a football guy. I want to see how Kendall Briles. I want to see what's going to happen. That's what I'm looking most forward to.
Yeah, I think I am too, actually.
Or Mike Martin. No, I want to see 11. I want to see 11 go out on top, man.
Well, that was one of the choices, but yes, that's what I look forward to. But this isn't like an either or. It's just I think that I'm more interested. I know the Florida State basketball team is good, and depending on a matchup in March, they could make it to the second weekend for sure. Maybe even the third weekend if they get the right matchups and play well. But I'm really interested in what this offense looks like in 2019. I already know what the Florida State basketball team is.
Right. Santa was very good to me this year. Maxwell continues on. He brought me a fiancée. Yes, that's right.
Good job, Maxwell.
At approximately 12 midnight on Christmas in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, I got engaged to my better half in front of her family. Most importantly, got their blessing and permission before I asked. Attaboy, Maxwell. Awesome, man. Congratulations.
Old school. Good job, Maxwell.
Heck yeah, man. Attaboy.
I assume we'll be invited to the wedding.
Yeah.
I feel like we were a big part of them getting together. I don't know exactly how, but I feel like we lifted Maxwell Gibbs' spirits enough over the last year that he had the confidence to pursue this and make it a reality. Yeah. And for that, I feel like, we should probably be invited to the wedding, probably flown to the wedding.
At least the reception.
Or in my case, a rental car.
Or maybe the bachelor party. Or the reception. I don't have to actually be at the wedding ceremony.
Exactly. That's a great point. Yeah, you don't have to invite us to the wedding. I've been to enough weddings in my life. I'm in my 40s. I've seen too many. The reception is what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So let us know when the reception starts, and we will be there as long as you pay for us to get there.
Bam.
Maybe we can do a remote. We could do our first ever Wake Up War Chant reception edition.
Now we're talking. Noel 128 or 128. I've watched the video on Jordan Travis. He's the transfer quarterback out of Louisville. Blackman and Francois are certainly better passers, IMO. That means in my opinion. However, do you think his ability to run with the football is going to be the difference in him winning or losing the starting job? Also, guys, it was quite funny to see Walt Bell in Target buying plastic storage totes to presumably move. That happened. It was posted on warchant.com. Happy New Year's, Aslan and Corey. Thanks for all you do, and go Noles. I still don't know where.
Happy New Year to you and everyone.
Indeed. I don't know where the Travis transfer stands in terms of getting the waiver. I mean, I know Bobby Petrino's leaving. I know that's a reason that players can somewhat use maybe this day and age. I still don't know how viable of a candidate he is to be the starting quarterback. I have not looked at his tape, but yeah, I mean, if it's Kendall Briles now calling shots, versatility, being able to run the ball effectively, something that teams have to account for, like a legitimate threat on every play, I think is very important if you're not going to have like a lightning quick release and a rocket arm. And, the guys like Stidham and Bryce Petty had, they weren't De'Aaron King, they weren't Robert Griffin III. They were, really skilled passers, but they had enough athleticism to make teams honest. I don't know if DeAndre, with the way his knee was this past season, or if James ever is going to have that sort of explosiveness. But again, I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not putting my chips in the Jordan Travis sweepstakes right now.
Yeah, but it's it is a nice option to have. It's certainly better than having nobody.
Yeah.
It's a nice option to have. He is a Division I FBS quarterback, and he can move, which is a big deal. We saw that in the Sugar Bowl. Having a quarterback that can get you first downs when the play doesn't work, or get you touchdowns in his case, especially against good defenses. That's the one thing that's always hard for all of them. Is even Oklahoma let that Kyler Murray ran for over 100 yards against Alabama. That's just Alabama's coached by the best coach of all time. It's just hard to account for a quarterback that can move like that. So just having that as an option isn't a bad deal. But yeah, I don't know what the probability is that he'll win the starting job. I wouldn't put a lot of money on it. But we don't know. I don't know. It's really that's an uneducated guess. But it's again, it's good to have options, and it's good to have the Travis family back at Florida State.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see more Cam Akers taking snaps. One could hope.
That too.
One could hope. Too. Doak FSU 1. Good morning. I started a thread on the Tribal Council asking who would you have on your Mount Rushmore of Florida State. Who would you guys choose? Thank you for all you both do. Thank you. For listening and leaving your questions, Doak FSU 1. I appreciate that. I'm going to have Bobby 11. I mean, I don't want to say – I know you're going to put Mickey on yours, so I'll put Jimbo on mine. And then, I guess Hugh Durham? I don't know. Yeah? No?
Yeah, I would put – yeah, that's a hard one because you got to – if you're accounting for coaches too, I mean, good grief.
Are we talking about players or just coaches or just head coaches?
Yeah, it wasn't real specific. If we're going to do players,
okay,
mine would be Buster Posey, Dion, probably Charlie, and
Jessica
throw
Warren.
Somebody else in there, Trent Forrest.
Jessica Warren.
Oh, that is a good one. There you go, Jessica Warren,
and Gabby Reese.
We
got to throw
Castellanos, Dana.
Okay.
Maybe if we could etch 5 names in there, she'd get a chance too.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good one, Jessie Warren. Throw her on the mix. It's at a place like Florida State, it's impossible. Like, yeah, you could put. I mean, Dion almost has to be there.
Yeah.
Even if it's just people associated with Florida State.
Yeah.
Because of what he did for the brand to spark the dynasty. I mean, it was Bowden, it was Mickey, but Dion was a big part of it too. So you feel like and he's the best cornerback to ever play. Then there's also Derek Brooks. Yeah, it's the work done. There's too many. Walter Dix. You could go on and on.
Would you go for a Mickey Andrews statue if it also meant they'd have to make a statue for Jimbo?
Yeah. You could get away with the Jimbo thing because it could be just like Alabama. National championship head coaches at this place get their own statue. So give Jimbo a statue. That's fine. It'd be cool to see him like yanking somebody's helmet and screaming at him. Don't put that right next to the sportsmanship statue, but somewhere on campus you could have him grabbing a helmet. I guess who would you have? EJ? Like who would be the player that he's yelling at?
Everett Golson.
Yeah. Everett Golson was more like just shaking his head and rolling his eyes, or like pleading, like what in the world? Burt Reed, he'd yell at Burt Reed all the time. That'd probably be a good one.
Bucko Boy 32. Let's keep it.
Yeah, Mickey. Yeah, as long as that gets Mickey a statue, I'm all about it.
Bucko Boy 32 from Rock Hill, South Carolina, home of Jadeveon Clowney, Stephon Gilmore, and of course Chris Hope. There you go.
Oh, the great Chris Hope, long-time NFL veteran, and I believe he was on that national championship team in '99.
He was. He was like
my years are all running together. Yeah, he was a good safety. He was a good player.
He was like an academic stalwart too.
He was. He was.
He was the embodiment of the student athlete.
That's the crazy thing about Florida State, man. Somebody like Chris Hope, who had a really good NFL career, was really good in college and won championships. I don't want to say you forget about him, but there's just so many dudes that have come through here. Anyway, go ahead.
It's a fun team. It's a fun team that we had, that we grew up on.
It really was.
Hopefully,
you remember me. I was a big Georgia fan.
Yeah, of course.
I don't care about Florida State.
If you had to predict a grad transfer quarterback, who would it be? Everyone says Hurts is the guy, but who else is there that could intrigue the staff?
I'm going to say Jordan Travis. Oh, no, he's not a grad transfer.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's got to be
Jalen,
I don't know who else is even out there that's that is even on the radar.
Yeah.
So, right, Hurts.
Yeah. DeGauser. DeGauser. DeGausier. Degausser. I'll say DeGauser. I should have gone with the first instinct. Wake up! What did Santa get you? What did you get? Like, what did Steph get you? What did Brady get you?
So you like this I think people think this is a really great. It is a great present. I shouldn't say it like that. I shouldn't present it like that. So, in September, Stephanie asked me like for a list of like my all time favorite 10 sports memories.
Okay.
9 or 10. Just give them to me. I would text her the date, and she wanted the date and what happened. So I text her the date of like most of them were with my dad. Like it's Sid Bream scoring the '92 playoff game. It's there's some
Green
Florida State ones in there for sure. The Punt-Ruski, the Charlie Ward comeback against Georgia Tech, and then later that night we went to the World Series game, the Braves and the Blue Jays. A lot of cool stuff like that. So I just gave her a list and then kind of forgot about it. And then 3 months later, my present is a memory quilt.
Ooh.
Where she quilted me a blanket. Or a quilt. You quilt a quilt, I guess.
Yeah.
Can you quilt a blanket? Or I guess you blanket a blanket.
You weave
if we're
a blanket?
using those as verbs. Anyway, It's weird that quilt is a verb and a noun. Anywho, so she quilted a quilt, and it's got those. She ironed on those, like she got the press pass she got a picture of the press pass from the '92 Georgia Tech Florida State game.
Oh,
she got the program from the Sid Bream game and made an image of that, and that's on the quilt. The everything, the Punt-Ruski game, she got the box score and put that in one of the little squares. So yeah, that's awesome, it's actually on. I'm laying my head on it right now.
Nice, fantastic.
It's really good. It's really thoughtful, right?
Heck yeah.
And most of them are, they were mostly memories of my dad because he was the reason I got to go to all those games. Like the '91 Florida State Michigan game, that was a great memory. The Braves winning the World Series finally, all that stuff, man. Almost all of it's with my dad. And so, yeah, it was a really touching, sweet Christmas gift. And I got her, just in case you're wondering, to think it's a one-sided relationship, I got her a $25 Uber gift card.
Nice. We can use that next time we go around town.
Yeah, I mean, more than we could use a quilt. We can't pay for an Uber with a quilt.
Can't do it. Cannot do it. No, lady friend, girlfriend. I said lady friend to her the other day. She's like, "Oh, am I back to lady friend now?" I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, it's your girlfriend now.
You're my girlfriend. She bought me. She bought me. So I'm big on sleep, as everyone knows. Listen to the show. Apparently, there's this movement out there with like you use weighted items like these really heavy blankets and these like heavy face masks. So she bought me this weighted blanket. That's awesome. Like you seriously just throw it over you and calm washes over your body, and then you just go like right to sleep. It's pretty cool. And then she bought me like a sweater from Brooks Brothers. She bought me some like funny gag gifts. She made me a pecan pie.
Wow.
She also got me a couple other things that are escaping my mind right now. But no, she did really well. And then you know what I did for her? So did I talk about on the show? So she showed me, like I had this whole thing. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to get her because everything that she wants is like super expensive. I'm like, we haven't been dating for that long to start spending, $300-400 on one single item. Maybe I'm cheap. I don't think that's what you do right out the gates. You got to, work your way up there. Anyhow, I bought her one of these, like this really nice canvas map that's framed and it's got her name on it with this little quote about, if you traveling is like reading a book, if you don't travel, all you're doing is reading the first page. And she's really big into books. Anyhow, you put pins on this map of where you've traveled to and where you want to travel. Well, I bought her that, and then a day or so later, she was over here, and she's like, "Oh, you want to see what I bought my dad and his wife for Christmas?" I'm like, "Sure." And she shows me that. Like, it wasn't the same design, but it was the same concept. Like, she bought her dad this map to keep track of his travels with his new wife. And I'm like, oh, awesome. Great. So, like,
Well, it should be a good thing. She obviously thinks it's a good gift to give someone.
That's what she was saying. She's like, you were worried about this? She's like, I told you I'm very similar to my father. If I got him the gift, wouldn't I like it? I'm like, yeah, but I was afraid you'd think that I copied it. She's like, well, you didn't, did you? I'm like, no. This came straight from the heart, straight from the dome. So.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, you're kindred spirits, you two.
Yeah. All right. I'm hoping Santa gets the football team some guys that can block a little bit for next year, says DeGauser. Yes.
You are not alone, DeGauser.
They are from Albemarle, North Carolina. I totally butchered that, I'm sure. I'm sorry. Kelly Pickler is our most famous person, followed by T.A. McClendon, who played at NC State and could have had a pretty good career in the league if he had stayed in college another year and stayed away from bad influences at home. Yeah, I feel like
remember T.A. McClendon.
He ran
scored a lot
wild
of
on
touchdowns.
us. Yeah, he ran wild on us. There was a post on the Tribal Council last week asking who would win in a game, 93 FSU or 99 FSU. Thoughts? And do either of those teams beat the 13 squad? Thanks for the show. I listened to every one. Thank you.
Thank you for thanking us. But no, I don't think either one of them would have beaten the 13 team.
Really?
If you go back and look at those 93, 93 was a very, very dominant team. But so was 2013. And, that's 93, I think, would have a shot. You look at 99, even though they were undefeated, they played a few close games, closer than they should have been games. Like, they were up by 10 at Virginia in the fourth quarter until Warwick did some craziness. Clemson, they were down 14-3 at half, and that wasn't the Clemson that we know now. That was a bad Clemson program, or at least mediocre. Yeah. They kind of played down to their level of opponent a good bit. The 93 and 2013 teams did not. I just think when you look at it now and with hindsight, the 93 team didn't have a ton of NFL guys on it. The 2013 team obviously that's all it was NFL guys. So that's why I would say I would give a slight edge to 2013. Plus the kicker.
Oh, yeah.
We can make fun of Roberto Aguayo all we want now, but he is still probably the best college kicker of all time. And that's a big advantage for in a game like that.
Yeah, in 13 he was lights out. Yeah, I don't want to be the young guy, the millennial-ish guy with the recency bias. But I always think back to what Steve Kerr, a few years ago, they kept asking Steve Kerr, I think, when they were in the midst of that.
Oh, his answer was awesome.
Yeah, just like we understand and we subscribe to the belief of evolution in terms of everything's getting better. Computers are getting faster and smaller, and cars are getting more durable and faster and lighter. We think that with everything. And in terms of what we know about sports science, we're lifting smarter, we're resting and we're recuperating better. But no, the athletes are worse now than they were 30 years ago. And I remember the way he said it was just so on point. And you're like, yeah, man, it's hard to imagine. As great as Bud Wilkinson was at Oklahoma and how tough-nosed they were running the wishbone, they would be able to do that against Alabama. No, sorry.
Yeah, again, though, I think, yeah, man, that's a really hard one because 99's defense was, the offense would sputter occasionally, but the defense was typically really good with Corey Simon and people like that up front. Their offensive line was very good. But that was the one stretch during Jimbo's time where he had a really good, almost dominant offensive line. Yep. Maybe it's recency bias. I remember every game of the 93 and 99 seasons, but I still think 13 probably had just a little bit more, certainly NFL talent.
Man, what are we going to do? We're at an hour, and we've got so many more questions.
Come on, let's go. Speed round.
Guy Knoll from beautiful Winter Springs, Florida, in Seminole County. Why does Corey think the Briles last name is toxic? The sins of the father do not fall on the son. Was he accused of anything? Just want to understand the continued guilt by paternity that Corey keeps mentioning. Having 2 adult sons, I do not think what I do has anything to do with them.
I guess I'll put it this way. Say my dad was running a law firm. It was Clark and Associates. Okay. But I worked there. I wasn't a partner, but I worked at the law firm. Mm-hmm. And then it turned out my dad, for a period of years, had been cheating the government and had been stealing money from his clients, doing all this with it. The FBI comes down, hammers him. He goes to prison. Well, he wouldn't go to prison because it'd be a white-collar crime, but whatever. Has to pay a huge fine and goes bankrupt. Now, I'm on his staff. What are the odds? My name, that's still my name. I'm a Clark. The Clark Law Firm. I worked with him. Yeah. I think that's the difference. No, you're not punished for the sins of your father, but it's the sins of your father plus you were on your father's staff. Yeah. It's not the sins of, it's not like I don't
want to get too dark here, but the Madoff family kind of.
How about that? Did you know that his Madoff's son turned him in?
I think.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that. I think didn't one of his kids off himself?
Yes. Sadly, and I think they but one of them turned him in.
Oh, okay.
One of the sons found out what he was doing and turned him in. Now that's always a scenario. So anyway, there's a chance Kendall Briles was kept completely in the dark, but he was on the staff of his dad. It's not just that the Briles last name is toxic; it's that Baylor was toxic at the time, and he was on the staff. Yeah. And so I think that's the difference when we talk about judging our kids for our own, mistakes. Again, he was there. He wasn't a GA. He wasn't the FIU offensive coordinator. He was on the staff. And if my dad at the Clark law firm did something that was illegal and I was part of the law firm at the time and I had that last name, it might be hard for me to get another job. Doesn't mean I didn't know anything, but people in those circles might think, man, what did you really know? You're telling me your dad didn't tell you any of this that was going on? Not even a heads up? Right. So, again, that's why I think it's a difference between just judging based on the sins of the father and all that. It's the sins of the father, sure, but again, it's the sins of the father and the father's staff, whether that's the football staff or the administration at Baylor. It's the sins of all of them, and he was there. That's all.
Speed round, BG boy. Need to get rid of those defensive assistant coaches, except for Hagens, he says. Mr. Bernsey, don't want to be the, quote, source guy, but DeAndre played because of his uncle's relationship with Willie Taggart, plain and simple. Enol _2000. Right. Read this line as Ed Orgeron, please. Happy New Year, guys. 2019 is going to be better, perhaps even really good. I'm optimistic. First off, kudos to Willie for realizing that he had to take a step back, analyze the bigger picture. Really back to that question. I've never heard that comment. I do know that DeAndre's uncle, was it Joe Misty? He used to be the quarterback at USF. I don't know. I didn't know he had a relationship with Willie. I don't know how much of that plays into it. You're in year one of your dream job, and everything's going up in flames. I don't know if that was Raymond Woody's son playing quarterback, I would think you would bench him.
Does that mean Willie Taggart's going to recruit his own son and put him at quarterback?
I don't know. Anyway,
you hope that Willie's thinking more big picture than just doing family friends a favor.
Enol _2000 continues. Congratulations or tip of the cap to Willie for realizing he has to step back, analyze the bigger picture, and be willing to hand over the offense in order to get this train back on the tracks. My frustration, Enol that is, with the previous guy was that he didn't seem to realize, or at least never admitted, that solutions weren't in the playbook that he was so heavily invested in. I don't doubt that either Willie or Jimbo know how to call plays, not at all. However, when you ascend to the top, you must learn to let go of certain things and trust that those you've hired are capable enough to do their jobs, or you replace them when they cannot. The position of head coach has plenty of responsibilities and expectations already, so for that, I applaud Coach T. Keep on doing what you guys do, and again, Happy New Year. Thank you for your questions always, Enol. Happy New Year to you as well.
Appreciate that. I would say, I think Jimbo's a little bit stubborn when it came to admitting mistakes. I mean, I'm sure he did in the 10 years he was at Florida State, admit them. I don't remember many. Willie is better at that. But again, that's kind of a double-edged sword, right? He also made some mistakes. Like Jimbo, at least early on, didn't make a ton of mistakes when it came to building a program. So there wasn't a lot to apologize for or to explain away. It just got to be in those later years where he had especially the last year, we had a real hard time admitting anything, even to the point that he was like, yeah, it's cool that my quarterback was Snapchatting during the game.
Yeah. John Henry Jones Jr. It's fantastic.
All right, John Henry Jones.
Aslan, you and Corey finally broke me down and convinced me to subscribe. Thanks, you knuckleheads.
There you go. Awesome. There you go, John Henry Jones Jr.
Can you
tell Senior to do it?
Can we get Gene to give us a cut of these people that keep saying they're subscribing because of us?
Are you not getting those? I had a really good Christmas. I thought. Okay. I probably should have said that.
There we go.
Sorry.
He goes on to compliment us. Thank you. We made the season enjoyable. I've listened to every show since the end of the 2017 season. Well, man, that's kind of when we arrived here.
Man.
Thanks for being along for the ride, JHJJ. Do you know the story behind why FSU now has an assistant director of football operations, Julie Reed, but no director of football operations? Under the previous staff, there was a director of football ops, Mark Robinson. How can you be an assistant director with no director? I just always thought this looked odd. That's a good question.
It's a very good question. I do not know the answer to that. Maybe they're still waiting to fill it?
No, I think midway through the season, he did bring somebody on as like his body guy. Because there's a guy now that goes with him to the press conferences. That's
correct. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that is the director of. I'm assuming that's his like director of football ops guy. But that was
just not up there yet. It's not updated.
I haven't.
Or maybe he has another name.
Perhaps. Like I did not see the staff
title. I mean, sorry.
Right. I did not look at the staff directory, but he was somebody that later on in the season was somebody that you started seeing at those weekly press conferences that we would have with Willie on Monday, and then also afterwards. So I assume that he is the director of ops. But it's a good observation that there was an assistant director listed, but there was no director listed up until that point. John Henry Jones Jr. adds that he is from Melbourne, Florida, hometown of Tim Wakefield, two-time World Series Red Sox knuckleballer. Also Kate Upton, Jim Morrison, Prince Fielder, Cecil Fielder, Bruce Bochy, Darrell Hammond, Bobby Dahl, he's the bass player from Poison, and many others. Crikey! Melbourne is home to even way more famous people than it has any right to be. That's crazy.
It is. It's also, we're a knuckleball heavy show today.
Yeah, what's with all these
with
folks?
Wakefield and Charlie Huff. But yeah, I didn't know there were that many famous people from Melbourne.
Can you name anybody else that throws a knuckleball besides Tim Wakefield and Charlie Huff?
Yeah, Phil Necro.
Oh, good job.
Hoyt Wilhelm.
Okay, show off. Captain D.
Necro.
Captain D _63. Hey, welcome back, D. We haven't seen him in a long time. I figured my negativity maybe scared him off. Thanks, Azon and Corey, for an awesome show throughout the year. Having you two keep us up to date on all the things has been a blessing. Happy New Year. I hope everyone has an awesome New Year. Go Noles. Totally agree with everything you said.
That was very nice.
And
yeah, go Noles. Happy New Year.
And
everyone.
I really appreciate the nice things you folks say. I know I sound like I'm glossing over it, but it's awesome. It makes me feel good. I have a two-part question. In your opinion, do you believe Coach Taggart and the coaches are going to do away with the music and have these players focus more on their assignments? Would it be better? I don't know. I think like Willie, I don't want to say he's going to do it to be stubborn, but I don't think Willie can just be like, all right, Kendall's here. We're going to change everything. There's core principles, making things fun, keeping a good light environment at practice that you would hope is not causing problems, and you're going to stick to it. I think the music's not going away. Second question, how long does it take, in your opinion, that we recruit more disciplined players who know their assignments and practice and play within their lanes and play old school, so to speak, like Florida State of old?
Well, the Florida State of old, though,
yeah, we kind of.
I don't know if I'd say discipline was the first adjective that would come to mind of those great dynasty teams. I mean, they would always be one of the worst in the country in penalties. They were just awesome. I think before you start recruiting the Mensa kids, recruit some, as Willie calls them, football players, like guys that love the sport, like a Telvin Smith. Yeah. I'm not saying, Telvin Smith's an intelligent guy. I wasn't trying to say he wasn't an intelligent person.
Not mutually
But that dude loves football. Yeah. Loves it. And it always feels like he's the biggest dude in the room, even though he's one of the smallest linebackers in the league. Recruit guys like that, man. A lot of talent too, but that's the mindset you need. Guys that want to go, just play the sport, like the sport, have a high football IQ, which I guess it goes back to the point that he was making. But yeah, I think that, Willie talked about, we'll see, but he talked about during the recruiting press conference that this was the kind of, they're recruiting a certain type of player. They're looking for things, personality-wise, mindset-wise, that it's not just about physical ability. At the end of the day, physical ability almost always wins out in sports. But still, you'd like to get those great combinations of like a Vince Williams or a Telvin Smith, a Rashad Green, people like that are football players and take their jobs very seriously.
How about this, Corey? Maybe a possum column idea for you. Not that you need ideas, but just
I do actually.
This.
Let's hear it.
Well, everyone does the whole look at the 2015 recruiting class, 16, like looking back at the recruiting class and what happened to them. Like maybe look at how many players left this program under, I don't want to say suspicious or mysterious circumstances, but just nothing. They didn't transfer else. Like they quit football. Like this was their last stop. Like I don't know if like maybe like you talk about the desire, the want to football players, guys who live, breathe, and eat this. Was Jimbo missing out on that? Because, there's a lot of – I just think about these offensive linemen that were recruited here and then end up just leaving. Just like, they don't transfer anywhere. They didn't resurface at any other programs. They're done. Like, I just don't want to play football anymore.
Yeah, and you wonder, you don't want the love of the sport beaten out of the kids.
Yeah.
And that can happen with even player-type coaches. But it did seem like there was a lot of that, a lot of casualties to maybe being coached by the coaches that were here previously. Yeah. They were like, man, I don't even want to do this anymore. This isn't fun. And again, it's not supposed to be dance-offs. Football practice is not fun. But being on a football team can be fun. Good and point. Maybe for some of these players, that fun didn't outweigh the pain of practicing and all that. Yeah, I mean, obviously for a lot of the guys that came here, it wasn't something they truly loved. You don't give up if you're still willing and able. If you're still able, you don't usually give up something you love to do. So yeah, I don't know exactly what kind of correlations I could draw, but that's an interesting column idea.
Well, that's a good lead.
Because it does
right
seem
there.
like Florida State was hit with that a lot. Just kids just like being done with the sport.
Yeah, that's a good lead though. I like the whole football practice is not supposed to be fun, but being on a football team is. I mean, go
there
with
you go.
that.
And that was just off the dome, folks.
Go with that. How about _them Noles? Wake up! New year, new Noles. Hopefully. Any personal resolutions for you two? I've always, for the last 10 years, I think I've been like, I don't want to be late. But I'm constantly late, so I'm not going to even do it anymore. I'm going to maybe try to be a little more positive. I'm going to try to say yes before I say no, maybe.
Okay, yes and? You're going to be like a improv student? Just do yes and all the time?
Oh, okay.
That's not bad. That's not a bad resolution to have, to be more positive.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be better. I think I didn't really make one. But now that I'm thinking about it, I do want to work out more, but that's cliche. Everybody wants to do that. I want to be cleaner around my house.
All right.
Not on my body. I have,
Let's start with your car. And then we'll work to your
my
house.
car and my house. Everything. Because I do think, man, the cluttered stuff, it's a cluttered mind. Yeah. I want to be able to enjoy walking into my house and not be like, oh gosh, look at all this stuff on the floor. It's not trash or anything. It's usually clothes that I've dried, but I haven't taken up to the dresser, stuff like that. I just got to be better about that stuff. It's not a dirt. I don't want people to get the wrong idea. It's not,
Corey doesn't live in he doesn't live in squalor. He lives.
Yeah, I don't have
in a
wrappers and wraps running around. I just have, maybe an empty bottle here or there, or clothes on the floor, or a box that I haven't moved. I gotta be better about that stuff. More than anything, as an example to my kid.
I've been back in town for like 5 days, and I just finally got done unpacking. And you're constantly going between 2 cities, 2 homes, sometimes 3 different homes.
I never feel like I'm unpacked, ever.
I feel for you. Real quick, there's something I saw on Twitter that was trending. Apparently there's a show, I think, on Netflix, some sort of home improvement lady guru about like uncluttering your life and stuff. Look into that. It might give you some sort of inspiration to get everything sort of settled in at your house. I don't know the name of it, but I'm sure if you go on Netflix, it's probably one of the top.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll look into it, buddy. I appreciate that advice.
How about the _them Noles was saying, I've seen people say on the tribal council, if you're not a member, War Chant 30, use the promo code, folks, that if Briles succeeds, he'll be at Florida State for 2 years at most before taking a head coaching job. I was wondering if his past will keep a school from hiring him away so quickly. I could see him staying in Tallahassee for a while if it all works out. Thoughts? Happy New Year. Keep up the great work.
I think that
no one's staying.
Hasn't
here.
that Band-Aid been ripped off when Florida State hires you? I don't know that he could go to Texas or a big school, a huge school right away as a head coach. But you're telling me that I don't know, Florida Atlantic, if Kiffin leaves. That they wouldn't hire the FSU offensive coordinator. I mean, I think that would be. I don't think he's going to be at FSU for a long, long time.
But why do you don't leave Houston and a pretty good job and a pretty good salary to come to Florida State?
Well, they all got fired though, right? Like right now, he'd be working for Holgorsen.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Yeah, Dana Holgorsen is the coach. In case anybody was worried about like a Diaz effect.
Crazy.
Going back on us and going.
But I think he could go to like one of the, a group of 5 program as a head coach. And if he turns this thing around within 2 or 3 years, and yes, his last name will be brought up, but it will be again, the whole thing goes to his dad, not him. And so, but I think the administration, hopefully, like Florida State's administration, will do the digging that they have to do to make sure. But at that point, I mean, then you're 5 or 6 years removed from it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little more bullish on him than you are, Corey, because I just think about how bad this team was last year, that if he puts together 2 years of top 40 offenses and say Mike Gundy is still spinning his wheels at Oklahoma State, like I could see a decent team in the Big 12 making a run for him. I could see a Power 5 school taking him. I don't think he'd go out to the West Coast, but I mean, who knows? Like if Mark Stoops starts coming down, I mean, well, look at him in Kentucky. They won 10 games. Good
for him, man. Good for him.
If somehow he falters, I think a Power 5 team would make a play on him in 3 years if he has 2 good seasons at Florida State. Because
maybe. I mean, well, I guess we'll see.
A
little more risk when you're with the bigger schools, with the bigger alumni and the money donors and all that, but. And I also think it's a bigger deal to be a head coach than an offensive coordinator because you're the face of the program. Willie Taggart is still the face of the Florida State program. But, yeah, I mean, it certainly wouldn't surprise me. Let's put it that way. It will not surprise me if his dad gets a head coaching job again.
Well, I'm trying. I was going to give you a hypothetical about something, but we're way too late in the show.
Yeah. Let's crank it up. Aslan.
Oh, man, we're like, how long is this? Oh, my gosh, it's an hour 15. Conway T4811. Well, it's 2019, and just like 2018, we're starting off the year talking about a new coach coming to Tallahassee who's going to fix our offense. People are saying the same exact thing about Briles as they did about Willie. My opinion is if the culture does not change, Briles will be made to look like a fool, just like Willie. My question is, do you guys feel that Willie can instill a culture that truly represents the Seminoles that we came to love so long ago? I think the way practices are held will tell us a lot. What other markers will y'all be looking for besides practice? I live in Ocala. Famous people who are from here or who live outside include Dante Culpepper, P.J. Williams, who we seem to forget, and John Travolta.
Oh, John Travolta.
Really? Look at that.
Well, that kind of trumps almost all of them.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was from Florida. Really?
All right.
That's crazy.
I don't know. He probably has a house. Probably likes horses or something.
It's so weird.
Yeah, look at that. Add it to the resume.
It's so weird. I can't even. That's the only thing I can do is it's so weird. I was going to say it's so weird he's from Florida, but I can't do Florida with the Travolta accent.
Oh, man. I think that's better than your Liam Neeson.
Well, I don't know. It's close, buddy. It's close.
What markers?
2 forms of perfection.
I know practice is obviously going to be a huge marker. I don't know if there's any way Willie's going to carry himself in press conferences or that'll signal that the culture's kind of changing around. I really do think practice. I mean, I know you're asking for other markers besides practice. But I still think he's going to recruit really well. I think, for as much as he wants to get this kind of, blue-collar throwback player, he's still going to go after 5-star kids, and there's nothing wrong with that. We like that. I do think ultimately the way they're going to operate the practices, and then that's going to feed off into the way they're going to play. That's going to be the marker. That's going to be the indicator. I don't know really what else could we expect from him to see if this thing is turning in the right direction. Besides,
I don't know what other signs you look for other than what really honestly what you see on Saturdays, and that'll be the prove it time is what you see on Saturdays. I do think once high school head coaches, high school parents, and high school players really buy into what Willie Taggart is doing at Florida State, the floodgates will open, and that will be a sign. If about the culture that the recruits are hearing about it, the players are telling them about it, and they're getting almost everybody they want. I do think that's a possibility. I promise I do. If they can start winning some games, and if he can turn that culture around, it should be a recruiting juggernaut, and that will be a telltale sign in my eyes if they start landing these ridiculous Alabama-type classes.
ATL Knoll 82. Happy New Year, fellas, and wake up! Born in West Palm Beach, like Travis Rudolph and Giovanni Bernard, lived in Tallahassee, Wakulla High, for 20 years, and now live in North Atlanta. East Cobb snob, baby.
Yep.
First off, Corey, No need to apologize for your column. I thought it was fair. It's okay to stir the pot every now and then. Makes for a hilarious comment section. Anyway, to my question, the offense is getting all the attention right now, and rightfully so, but what about the defense? Did our inept offense last season just make our defense look worse than it actually was, or do you think we have some real problems there? I know we were thin at linebacker, but man, we got torched. Is Barnett the right man for the job, or is his seat hot? Thanks, fellas. Love the show. Thanks, man. Thanks, ATL.
I mean, I think it's just, they do work symbiotically, offenses and defenses. And when your offense keeps punting, and the opposing offense only has to go half the field every time, and you're always on the field, and you always feel like the game is over because you're down 2 or 3 scores, it's hard to really judge. I mean, it just is. I think, but that said, that's not an excuse. They weren't good. And
well, this is the problem, Corey. Not to jump you, the offense was pretty lousy all year long. The defense regressed throughout the season. Defense actually looked good the first 6 games. And then I know the competition, everyone's with the competition. I
think that, man, to me, isn't that the biggest thing? Like, I mean,
no, because they still played aggressive. They were still blitzing from different angles and getting to the quarterback and affecting him. And it got to the point where Harlan Barnett said, well, we got to make it easier. We got to make it simpler. Like, no, you don't have enough good players just to play man defense all the time. Like, you have to mix in zone. And, like, apparently they could not grasp that concept. That's worrisome. Is his seat hot? I mean, listen, again, if they're going to go and make a run for a guy like Kendall Briles, there's guys out there. If there's money in the coffer, I would imagine that, listen, Willie was not happy several times with the way the defense played last season and said as much. Yeah, man, he'll find somebody that if he thinks somebody's out there that's better, I think he does go after somebody. But it seems like Harlan Barnett's going to be back in 19. And yeah, maybe they'll make improvements. Maybe that back end is going to be that much more experienced, and that'll let the pass rush have a little more time to get to the quarterback because they'll be able to cover a little bit better. But it is daunting to think about how bad they looked last year, and then the one bright spot in terms of getting to the quarterback is gone. And there doesn't really seem to be anybody outside. I don't know, maybe you think Xavier Peters and Dennis Briggs will just be fresh. They won't have to play as many reps as Brian Burns, so they can play balls to the wall with a Z and get to the quarterback more often. But I'm concerned, man. The Briles thing has really quelled my fears on the offense. I know the offensive line still needs to get fixed. I think that, it cannot possibly be as bad as we thought it was last year. I think he's going to find ways to fix it and put some smoke and mirrors around it. The defense concerns me, man. I am more worried about the defense than I am the offense right now at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Well, yeah, because I feel like now you think the offense is it's on the right track. This guy, in many people's eyes is more proven than Harlan Barnett. Again, Harlan Barnett had a lot of success where he came from. But I would say, the question, going back to the question, is he on the hot seat? Well, man, if they go 5-7 again or somewhere around there and give up over 30 points a game, yeah, everybody's butt is on the hot seat. The seat's hot for every coach on that staff. So yeah, if things don't improve, sure there'll be calls to look for someone else, get somebody better in. There aren't many programs that are happy with their defensive coordinators, but it's been a while since Florida State fans were. It'd be nice to give them a defensive coach that they actually trust. It's been since Pruitt, and even that he earned it, and he was only here for 11 months. So it'd be a nice time for Harlan Barnett to have a bounce back year too.
Tennis Ump, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, guys. I would love to hear more about the supposedly unstructured practices and before games. Can't understand that at all, and cannot imagine Mickey sitting still for that. Thanks. Tennis Ump, born in Vancouver, Canada. Hey, he's not done.
Sorry.
Listen to this show off. Born in Vancouver, Canada, high school in Fort Lauderdale, after grade school, Bermuda, currently living in SEC hell in Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, well, he was doing really well until the very end there.
We love you, Tennis Ump. He actually, he actually like umped at the U.S. Open and all.
Oh, yeah. So. Yeah, that's our guy.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, sorry, Corey, go ahead.
I assume it's a guy. We don't know if it's a guy or a woman.
Yeah, he says his name. He put his name out there.
Okay.
I'm not going to broadcast that 13,000 people. The people on the tribal council can know.
Oh, gotcha. So what was his question?
Just basically, he wants to hear more about the supposedly unstructured practices and before games.
I don't know that the practices are unstructured.
Right.
My biggest problem with the practices, and again, we only saw two full practices, and everything else was just like the first 20 minutes,
20
which was a lot of just drills. To me, a lot of standing around. And also when you see footage of the ball security drill, it just completely going through the guy at the end of that trying to knock the ball out was completely going through the motions, just not making anyone better at all. That was appalling really to watch. Like, how is this making anyone better? This is just a wasted 5 minutes. Just a wasted 5 minutes. The players know you're not going to try to knock the ball out of their hand. You're barely tapping the ball like it's a baby. Like you don't want to hurt a baby, like they're holding a baby and you don't want to hurt it. I mean, you should be trying to rip that thing out. Well, not a baby. The football. They're holding a football. Try to rip it out. The guy at the end of the line wasn't doing that. And so you see stuff like that, and you're like, okay, how much better are they getting? And also what you saw on Saturdays, and how much better are you getting at practice? But I will say, when I was thinking about the thing that I brought up a lot was, number one, I only saw Brian Burns, but I would see him in the park, not in the parking lot, but outside of the football field house, talking with family members an hour and a half before a game. To me, that's odd. I'd never seen it before, but maybe he's done that since he's been at Florida State, and I just walked another way around the stadium and didn't see that. The fact that he thought he could do that maybe is an issue. But Willie might have told him he could. Whatever. Before the one game that I remember, the receivers, it was probably 10 minutes of just kicking field goals. Literally, DJ Matthews might have kicked 15. I think he kicked more warm-up kicks than Aguayo did. Just literally did it for 10, 15 minutes. Tamorian Terry tried. Francois was playing cornerback, just goofing around, probably an hour and 15 minutes before the game. Well, that was the Wake Forest game, which happened to be their best game they played all year. So I don't know. I know it's all in the effort to make them loose and have fun. Don't treat it so seriously. There's obviously a fine line there. And so that's what the practice structure, we're not there for most of it. The music doesn't bother me. It just doesn't. You can practice really hard with music in the background. People work out in the gym all the time with people in the background, with music going on in the background. So that doesn't bother me. The standing around bothered me a good bit more than that, just because it seemed like it was there were only the people on the field, the 22 people on the field were the only ones that were getting anything out of that 5 minute stretch. There's a lot of standing around. But, I think that's probably how it goes at a lot of practices. I know Jimbo would have everybody practicing at once on two different fields. And the field goal kicking was bizarre, especially for a team that had just lost. I think they were 3-3 at the time, or 2-3. But then they went out and played their best game of the season. So maybe it's better for them to kick field goals before the game. I don't know.
I think some of the Louisville games, somebody posted like, oh, here's the team, like live tweeted them getting off the bus. And I'm like, man, like they're getting to the stadium like just 2 hours before an away game. But I asked one of my buddies who used to play ball, and he said that's kind of standard for most teams. I thought that was kind of odd. I mean, I think it goes back to what you mentioned a lot of times about like causation versus correlation. Like, is the team 5-7? Do they look undisciplined and couldn't line up 11 guys because Brian Burns in the parking lot, or because they're kicking field goals before the game? I don't know, but like when you are 5-7 and you look back and those were things that were happening, and you lost a 40-year streak of winning seasons, 41 years, 36 years, then you start getting kind of miffed. If they were 9-4, I mean, I probably wouldn't mention this sort of stuff. The music probably wouldn't bother me. The music, I don't like the music because I think it's bad music, not because it's rap. It's just bad rap. But yeah, when you're 5-7, I'm just sorry. I guess maybe it's too reactionary for some people. For me, I don't like flip-flopping on things. Just you make up your mind on things. When it's 4th and 1, you make your play call. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, you live with it, that's my whole thing. I hate when people are go for it, and then you go for it on 4th down, you don't get it. And they're like, oh, that was stupid. We shouldn't have gone for it. It was why? Because we didn't get it? Now that's not how life works. But yeah, just when you look back and you start auditing and you add all these things up and you're like, golly, you lost this bad. You snapped a 5-game winning streak against Florida with everything on the line. You look that bad. And you're like, well, you know what, man? Maybe we shouldn't do this in practice. Maybe they shouldn't be a disassembled mob when they're warming up before games. Like, get a stretch line. Line up on the 30. Special, running backs line up on the 25. Like, I don't know. Things like that to me, I just think, again, it doesn't cause things, but when it happens and you're living it, you're like, well, geez, it shouldn't be this chaotic. We shouldn't.
Well, I don't think it's chaotic. I think it might look more chaotic than, obviously the previous coach. I don't think they're not just stretching wherever they want, back in the locker room or in the stands or in the end zone. I mean, there is some structure to it. It just doesn't look like a normal. But also, there's no causation there. There just isn't. It's like when
right, but there's correlation.
When Kirby Smart took over at Georgia, and he brought in all these rules about he basically brought in the Saban rules with dealing with the media.
Right.
And all the Georgia fans were like, yeah, anything to win championships. Anything to win championships. I'm all for it. If that helps us win games, it doesn't help you win anything. Pete Carroll had the most open and this is just an example. I'm not lamenting the media anymore in college football. I'm past it. But Pete Carroll had the most open locker room in college football history. It didn't cost them at all. It didn't matter to them in one iota. They were good. They had really good players. And in fact, it kind of fostered a more accountability in a lot of ways. And I just think that, you look at something like music, man, it just doesn't matter. Jimbo could have had live concerts every day of the 2013 football season. What do you think their record would have been?
You joke about it, Core, but I don't know. I really don't know, man. You're fostering an environment of lackadaisical, I don't know.
But music doesn't make you lackadaisical.
Hey, what happened to Rocky when he fought Clubber Lang? He started having a jazz band playing with him when he was getting ready for the Clubber Lang fight the first time around. And he lost. And what happened
the second time, he's listening to Survivor the whole time. That whole montage is one song. He just listened to the same song over and over again, and it got him pumped up.
You're right. When you're right, you're
just saying. Eye of the Tiger, man. Yeah. I just won that argument.
Alamance Knoll, yo guys, how about an update on Mr. LeBourne? Still on track for next year? That I don't know. I'll put it on the list of things to ask Willie when we speak to him next. Check Twitter. I'm sure he's probably posting.
Judging from social media, it seems to be like he's rehabbing nicely.
Yeah. I don't know. That was a pretty gruesome injury for a guy who relies on explosiveness.
Yeah, you hope it comes back. You hope it comes back because he had, we only saw really the spring game and then the one play against Virginia Tech, but man, he looked like he could have been a pretty special player. Yeah. Still can be, though. He's young.
Yep. Bowden Law. Someone steals your mom's purse. Which War Chant employee are you taking with you to get it back? Making fun of my
I guess
question.
You.
I take Ira. I think Ira's got good sense, and then he's got the goatee. If he's got the goatee back, he's got.
I can get along. But if you had to choose between you and Ira, you would take you.
Yeah, just because
that was the choice I had.
I don't have a family. He's got something to live for. Right now at this point, I might go a little rogue. Also, want to get your thoughts on the wide receivers for next year. Everyone knows that Terry is legit, but I personally feel that Thompson, Young, Helton, Matthews, Harrison will thrive in the Briles offense. Thanks, guys, and wake up.
A couple of them will for sure, like they have to. We'll see. We don't really know enough about any of them. We think we know Harrison and Helton are good players, but they didn't get a lot of touches this year. So there's a lot of questions in that wide receiver core too. Yeah. Are we at the 2-hour mark yet?
We are at the 1.5 hour mark. Don't be so dramatic.
Are we doing a show tomorrow?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, let's finish it off then in grand style.
Well, I do think, if you want to do this whole like tit for tat or apple to apple kind of thing, like, Tamorian's like your Kelvin. Is anybody close to being Rashad? And like maybe, Kenny Shaw was a tough SOB. Like I like the Shawns. I don't know if any of them are going to be close to what Rashad Green was. I don't know if any of them is going to be able to be as tough and reliable as Kenny Shaw. So I don't know. The wide receivers, I think there's good stuff there, but again, man, that 2013 team. Like if we want to be awesome again, we need really awesome players. And I know again, it's Jimbo's fault. A lot of who these guys are on the roster right now. Like how many really awesome, if there's like an expansion draft, like in the NHL when they have an expansion draft. they formed the Vegas Golden Knights, right? Well, like every NHL team could like protect 5 or 6 of their players. Everybody else was like free game. Like who would come pluck away players from Florida State? Like if you protected the top 5 players on Florida State's roster, who are you going after then? Like, like who would be the 6th or 7th best player on Florida State's team that would compare to the 6th or 7th best guy on Georgia or Bama or A&M or Texas? I think about that sort of things. Anyhow, that was a stupid thing. I should just next question. I'm rambling.
Don't say that.
Running Knoll. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, Corey and Aslan. Just want to let you know that I love the show. I listen every day getting ready for work and driving to work. You guys are a great team. Thank you, Running Knoll. Appreciate it. We see her plenty of times. She lives in Jacksonville, but she's always in Tallahassee. She's like a super fan. Entertaining, informative, provocative, altogether awesome, and the music is fantastic. All right, she's come. All right, I got too big of a head.
Man, that should be on the promos. That should be on the T-shirts.
I'm not gonna be able to fit my head on my pillow. Her question is, who do you want to win, Bama or Clemson, and why? She says Bama. She does like Dabo and Clemson, but I don't want them to have 3 championships like we do.
I can see that. Yeah. I wonder about that. I assume most Florida State fans are probably rooting for Alabama.
Yeah, I don't like the SEC superiority thing, but it's just an Alabama thing. SEC people can just listen.
And that's what's so bizarre is I guarantee you, other than Auburn, every other SEC fan base, every other one, most of them that haven't won anything since color TV, they're all rooting for Alabama. But I don't think the rest of the ACC, at least Florida State fans, aren't rooting for Clemson.
What about South Carolina?
That makes it harder to compete with them.
South Carolina, that's their biggest rival, Clemson, but it's also the SEC. Well, no, they're going to obviously root for SEC. Stupid Aslan can't think.
Yeah, they'll be rooting for Alabama just so they don't want to see Clemson. But I don't know. Are North Carolina fans or Louisville fans? Are they rooting for Clemson? Do they even care?
No.
But the SEC again. They took so much joy of ending the stupid Central Florida, not stupid, but the Central Florida winning streak and blah, 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 man. Just it's weird that they take so much pride in Alabama stocking their trophy case. Because that's the only team that ever does it from that conference, Alabama.
Will there
Quit patting yourselves on the back for Nick Saban. He doesn't coach your team. He coaches Alabama, and those trophies don't go into your case. They go into theirs. It's so bizarre. I don't want to, as a Georgia alum, I guess if I look at it from that way, I'm not rooting for Alabama. Well, I'm not an SEC honk anyway, but I would never root for Alabama just because, the SEC.
Right.
Who cares?
They do.
Anyway, that's a long way of saying I will probably be rooting for Clemson.
Rotad. Does Dabo get any, I don't know, heat?
No. I know if they lose 3 out of 4 to Alabama, no.
Okay.
No.
He's the golden child, man. He has a really charmed life.
But he also loses like once a year.
To Pitt and Syracuse.
No, not this year, though. He escaped the Syracuse game this year. By the way, kudos to Syracuse, 10-win team.
Yeah, watch out. Dino Babers, make some noise. Running Knoll adds that she lives in Ponte Vedra Beach, but I'm originally from Syracuse, New York, hometown of Tom Cruise, Richard Gere, and Robert De Niro Sr. Is that the one that we know, or is that
I don't know.
Bobby
She
D's?
Specified senior, which makes me think it's his dad.
Yeah.
And not him.
Also, his name is really not Tom Cruise. I don't know what his last name is, but it's really
it's
not.
like McGillicuddy or something. But yeah, I didn't know he was from Syracuse.
Let's see what Wikipedia says, not to keep the show going any longer than it really should.
Might as well. Let's see if we can get to a 4-hour.
Mapother? M-A-P-O-T-H-E-R? Mapother?
Mapother?
Cruz is his middle name, I guess?
Oh, really? I just thought it was something stage name he made up.
I don't know. Anywho.
His name is Thomas Cruz Mapother?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
The fourth, yeah.
I went to the hospital once, and I had to get a Mapother put in.
Ouch.
Rough.
Rookie baby, wake up! Happy holidays to you both. Manny Diaz gets hired as Temple, their coach. The kids commit to Temple. They sign their LOIs. 5 weeks later, he goes back to Miami. Was it really that long? He wasn't head coach for 5 weeks, was he?
I don't think so.
Shorter than that. Isn't it unfair to criticize these kids' loyalty or heart for transferring when coaches seem to jump ship whenever they want and they don't get criticized for it? Not saying you guys do, but a lot of mainstream media does. Thanks, and go Noles.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I would never criticize it. I criticize Kelly Bryant, but only for the timing of it, not for him wanting to go have one last year, playing football. I just thought that there was a chance he would have been really he would have been really needed for this Clemson team. Turns out he wasn't. He feel like he could have just stayed just in case. But anyway, no, of course not, man. And we're going to see it more and more. It's becoming, every bowl game now has 3 or 4 or 5 kids sitting out.
Yeah.
It's going to end up being 10 to 12, and then it's going to become the last game of the regular season. It's going to become once you're out of the playoff race. Once you're out of the playoff race, once you're out of the conference race, that's what's going to happen. I'm telling you, that's where they're going. And by God, these coaches make all the money in the world. They leave other kids high and dry when they go take these other jobs. It's about time, the players started championing for themselves. And so, yeah, like if you're a surefire top 5 pick and your team is 4-4, well, what are you playing those last 3 or 4 games for? So your coach can get a $200,000 incentive if they make it to a bowl? But yet you're risking millions of dollars like the Jalen Smith kid did at Notre Dame, or the tight end from Michigan a few years ago that got hurt. I mean, that we're just gonna it's gonna be a fact of life from here on out. It's crazy that it took so long, but all these players now, they're being told by their handlers that it makes no sense for you to play. And I hate to say it because it kind of ruins bowl season a little bit. But can you argue with them? I mean, there's no reason to play in these they're all meaningless, really, if you're not chasing a championship. So eventually, these players are going to realize, hey, man, it's not just the bowl games that are meaningless. It's all these games. And I know this wasn't the question. I went on a tangent, but I think that's the reality. I think in 5 to 10 years, you're going to see scores of kids sitting out November.
No, I think like Manny
But yes,
Diaz
they should be allowed to go anywhere
mocked.
they want. If the coaches are allowed to go anywhere, coaches never have to sit out a year before they go coach at Oregon or Texas A&M.
Right.
But the players do. That's crazy.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
Not fair.
I wonder how much of the media feels more divorced from being a kid, and maybe they empathize more with the Manny Diaz. Like, oh, what if I worked at, I don't know, the Gwinnett County Register, and I got a job at the the AJC, or I don't know, what if you worked at a small paper in Georgia, and then if you were in Macon, but then say Athens wanted to hire you and you took the job in Athens, but then a week later Atlanta's like, yeah, come work for the AJC. Of course you're going to go there. So I wonder how much of it is the people in the mainstream media feel more, they can empathize more with a Manny Diaz leaving Temple after 2 days or a week and a half to go to a, quote, better job in Miami, whereas they can't wrap their head around a 19-year-old kid anymore. Maybe they're too far removed from it, wanting to get out of a school after a year. Although I don't really feel like people dog players that much anymore.
I don't think so either. I think that's going. There are a few.
It's Lou Holtz.
I think a lot of them are just trying to get attention on Twitter.
Yeah.
But I think by and large, the sports viewing community, the sports writing community, realizes how stacked the game has been against players forever, and they're coming to grips with this new reality, and they seem to be perfectly fine and pragmatic about it.
We got 3 more, Corey. Let's do it. FSU guy, 1989. Happy New Year, guys. With the kid from Louisville coming here, will he be able to use their coaching change as a hardship to be able to play this coming season? I assume that's what they're trying for. We don't know yet the status of that. Again, we'll probably get Willie here in a few weeks when sign day comes back around, the first Wednesday in February, and I'm sure we'll have some clarity on it either then or maybe even beforehand. Also, what are the timelines surrounding basketball recruiting? Are they similar to football or totally different? And do we have any news on upcoming basketball recruits? There's 2. Basketball's got 2 periods. They have an early and a regular signing period, but they don't run concurrent to basketball. It's different times of the year. The early period is in November for a week, and then they have a period that begins in April. So this year, April, it'll open back up for basketball, and it goes for about a month, May 15th, it says. So that's what,
remember Wiggins didn't commit until April or May, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, so they have.
It took forever for that to drag out. And I think the kid that they're on now, who's the number one player in the country, Anthony Edwards, who, people say they have a real shot with, same deal. I don't think he'll be committing anytime soon. But yeah, it's, it's Leonard. It's another good class. I think they got a kid out of Charlotte who's like a wing, like a 6'7" kid. I can't remember his name right now. It's like Patrick Williams or something. Two common names. But anyway, he's really good. And then if they get the Anthony Edwards kid, obviously they'll be one of their best classes in history. And they've got 4 or 5 other guys in that class, including a 7'3" kid. Leonard has to have one of them.
Yep.
So, their recruits, Aslan could always look it up if he was a good host and tell you the names.
Yeah, Patrick Williams.
But either way, I think they're a top
Carolina.
10, top 15 class.
Yeah, Patrick Williams. They don't have the rankings like they do for basketball, but Patrick Williams, that's correct, from Charlotte.
Oh, there we go.
Nathaniel Jack's a guard from Cocoa Beach area. They got 2 7-footers. They got a guy from Orlando, Balza Kopravickia, and then Naheem McLeod from Pennsylvania. He's 7'2", 210.
Ooh.
The other guy's 7 foot 240. And then there's they got a guy from Tallahassee that has a very lot of consonants. The Rock School. It says he's from Tallahassee, Florida, and it goes to the Rock School.
Yeah, so that's where he played at McClay until this last year. He transferred. I'd never even heard of the school, but apparently there's the Rock School in Gainesville.
Oh.
Yeah, so he went to Gainesville to play his last year of high school.
I think his last name is Wokji. Maybe we should get him to do like you're listening to Wake Up War Chant. Get woke, G.
Any more questions?
2 more. Anthony Edwards, by the way, is a 6'4" shooting guard out of Holy Spirit Preparatory School in Atlanta. He is the number 3 overall prospect in the entire nation, according to Rivals.com. So that'd be pretty cool.
It'd be pretty awesome to cover somebody like, well, we kind of did, I guess, with Beasley and Isaac.
Yeah.
By the way, Beasley's turning it up in the NBA.
Yeah.
He's playing like 25 minutes a game now. He's averaging right at 10 points. He's becoming a real NBA player for the Nuggets. So good for him.
Chris Gauss. Chris Gauss.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. That's our friend. My friend.
So after listening last week, I decided to become an actual paying subscriber instead of mooching off a friend subscription so I could send in a comment. I know you both pride yourself on providing accurate information to all of your subscribers. For what it's worth, the Florida bar rules state that, quote, each member of the bar should strive to provide pro bono legal services to the poor, end quote. It's not required, just encouraged. The goal, according to the Bar Association, is 20 hours annually. In the last year, I had just under 300 just to clear the air so Corey can go back to thinking it was a good thing. So, yeah, Corey, I'm sorry. Your friend has a good heart. It's not required. I thought I corrected myself a few weeks after, but still, the genie was out of the bottle.
I told her it's been a while since we had the Renegade Express, and now we know for sure what the parameters are, which there are none. Yeah. But again, if people don't remember, she works with Stephanie, my girlfriend. She's a lawyer, and she does pro bono work to help out young girls who, frankly, are being trafficked. So it's really, really important work and good work, and it's a nice thing for her to do that. It's a really positive. People trying to make a difference, Aslan.
Yeah, no.
And we always try to be accurate, so now we know.
I scrolled ahead
what the accurate part of it was.
I guffawed because I scrolled down. I'm not laughing at her work. That's incredibly important stuff that's happening. Which it's crazy to think that it's still happening in this day and age. And
300 pro bono hours seems like a lot too.
Yeah,
especially when you have a full-time job.
Yeah, but apparently you liked
her. But what was funny about that is that she's I guess we would call her a message board rookie, novice.
Okay.
She doesn't really know how they work.
Right.
So I think it was 2 days ago. Stephanie told her, "Hey, there's a Renegade Express. You need to get that. You need to get your question in there to make fun of them." Because we had told, we'd had her listen to you poo-pooing her pro bono work, saying basically she had to do it anyway, so it's not anything to be excited about. So, but what she did is instead of putting it in the Renegade Express thread, she started her own thread.
Oh, okay.
But if you read that,
she probably got lambasted for that.
If you read that with no context,
yeah,
the people on the tribal council were, "What in the world is this? Don't advertise your good deeds on the tribal council. What are you doing?" Like, there was no context that even related to a radio show, or she was people were confused. Like, why is this on our site? Why are you talking about pro bono work? So yeah, I thought that was really funny. So I deleted that, and then she put it in the right place.
You liked the post, which you can do on the tribal council on the boards. You can like it, and then somebody responded, "OMG, you got a like from Corey Clark, aka Daddy. I'm so jealous. I wish Corey would give me a like." Really uncomfortable.
Well, that's a little
Last
weird.
question. Kingpin _22. Happy New Year first and foremost. Which coach, excluding Willie Taggart, do you think will be the most important or most impactful recruiter when the entire staff is complete? Well, Kingpin, we don't know yet. We don't know the whole staff. Right now it's got to be Willie. I don't know who they're. If we think they're going to bring in maybe a Ron Dugans, maybe they bring in a DB / special teams guy. Maybe if Alonzo Hampton is not here, which he's still here. I don't know if that person's going to have the swagger or the cachet, the punch of Willie Taggart. But right now, I think, as of right now, if we're going to exclude Willie, probably Kendall Briles. But we don't know yet.
Yeah.
The entire staff isn't complete.
But that would be your guess, right? Because again, his history, his resume, he can just pull up stats and hey, if you come play receiver for me, look at what this guy did for me, and this guy was the fourth leading receiver on the team, but he still had 40 catches. Or 28 catches and 7 touchdowns. Like, all that stuff is going to look real appealing to a 17-year-old that likes to score touchdowns. So I would guess, and I just think, man, I know defense wins championships. I've been doing this long enough to realize that that's not a cliche. It's the truth. You got to be able to play defense. But, man, Willie Taggart, it's supposed to be high scoring, man. This is supposed to be a fun offense and a fun football team and a fun program. And so you need to figure out a way to get a lot of really good offensive players in here and score a lot of points. So that's why I think Kendall Briles will be the most important, because you got to fix the offense, even in my opinion, before you fix the defense. I don't even know how far away the defense is. But the offense, man, to make this a selling point, to make it fun, you got to score a lot of points on offense. And I think that's why they brought him in. And so go get really good players that want to go score a lot of points. Florida State fans will be happy. Even if you go 9-3, if you're averaging 44 points a game, that seems to be more enjoyable than a 9-3 when you're averaging 17 points a game.
I just want to win. Like I never, like, that's the whole thing that, I remember when we first started doing these shows, you would talk about, like, it's just boring to watch, Jimbo's plotting offenses. Like I like Jimbo's offenses. I mean, that's the guy.
It's run well, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like 17, the whole fact that James Blackman, true freshman, had no business being in that position, like, I gave him a mulligan for that. Everett Golston in 15, it was what it was, right? McGuire having a few, I don't know, I understood, I could see the big picture kind of thing of what he was trying to get accomplished, so it didn't bother me what they were doing. I'd love to see my team score 40 points, but, like, that's not an important thing to me, man. I don't need a high-flying offense to, like, feel good about my
but
team.
That's why I was saying that's why he was brought. I didn't make that point clear, and that's me. That's why Taggart was brought here. Well, fun, high-scoring offenses.
He was brought here because the other guy left, and they needed a coach, and, Willie.
Yeah, but part of his appeal, the reason that he was such a considered at the time a good hire, a home run hire, is because his offenses scored a lot of points and they were fast and they were fun. Well, nothing was fast or fun about 2018. But if you start doing that again, I think the program becomes easier to sell. Okay. And I also think you're always going to have enough athletes on defense at Florida State that you'll be pretty good. And if you're great on offense and just pretty good on defense, man, you're going to win a lot of football games.
Speaking of fast and fun, this show was neither. I'm just kidding.
It was a grind.
1 hour, 53 minutes. Corey, say something funny yet profound.
All right, I'm going to leave everyone with a joke. And here's the joke. You can play along, Aslan, because I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
What's the best way to catch a polar bear?
I don't know.
You dig a hole in the ice, and you sprinkle peas around the hole. And when he comes to take a pee, you kick him in the ice hole.
He's Corey Aslan. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll catch up with you next week.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.